Get ready to reimagine the future of humanity and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, hosted by Dr. David Gruder, an internationally renowned integrative psychologist, human potential expert, author, and social change catalyst, as he delves into the most urgent issues of our time. With the world facing unprecedented challenges and social and political divides growing deeper, it's time to take action. Each episode of this groundbreaking series will empower you with invaluable insights, strategies, and tools to heal these divisions and restore personal freedom and societal well-being. Whether you're a concerned citizen, a courageous leader, an influential figure, or an ambitious entrepreneur, Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will guide you on a transformative journey. Discover your unique role in creating a brighter future for yourself and society at large. Dr. David Gruder will draw upon his extensive knowledge and experience to provide practical solutions for shaping the world we live in. With his passionate exploration of social change, he will help you navigate through the complexities of our time and inspire you to make a meaningful impact. So, prepare yourself for an eye-opening experience as we delve deep into the heart of the matter. Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will challenge your perspectives, ignite your imagination, and equip you with the tools you need to reimagine and redefine the world around you. The time to transform our future is now. Join us on this incredible journey and enter a new era of possibility. For more information on Dr. David Gruder and the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, visit www.rhfy.ca. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, where together, we create a brighter tomorrow. Now, here is the host of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, Dr. David Gruder.
Well, welcome back to the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Dr. David Gruder, the polymath of human potential, societal psychotherapist, and futurist who equips leading-edge leaders, influencers, helping professionals, and you with impactful resilience that makes it possible for humanity's most spiritually elevated future to at last emerge. The title of this episode is The Future of Human Trust and Connection in a Digital AI-Driven World. In an AI-driven digital-first world, trust and human connection are vital yet fading, eroded by digital distrust, inauthentic engagement, and algorithmic overload. Learn to outshine the algorithms by making trust the currency for lead generation and lasting brand loyalty. Discover actionable strategies to build authentic relationships on social platforms like LinkedIn that open doors to your best opportunities. Joining me today is Joshua B. Lee, the game changer in personal branding and digital influence, known as the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn. With over 20 years in digital marketing, Joshua has built 16 businesses, managed nearly $1 billion in ad spend. I said billion, not million, a billion, nearly $1 billion, and driven 35 trillion online impressions. He's worked with tech giants like Google, MySpace, AWS, and Oracle, and visionaries like Joe Polish and Peter H. Diamandis. Through his company, Standout Authority, Joshua helps executives and entrepreneurs humanize their brands, turning engagement into real-world impact. A dedicated husband, father, and advocate for meaningful living, he's here to share how to build trust and connection in an AI-driven world. Get ready for a no BS, insight-packed conversation. Yay, Josh. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours.
David, it's a pleasure to be here with you, my friend. You and I have known each other for so long. So to be able to have this conversation and share with the world, it's nothing short of exciting.
I am right with you. I'm so looking forward to this. And in this first segment, we'll look at challenges people have in getting social media platforms to produce the results they seek. But first, Josh, how did you initially get interested in personal branding and digital influence, particularly on LinkedIn?
David, it's interesting, right? I don't think personal branding was, or being a branding expert was ever my intention, right? It was how to be able to show up myself first and allow people to see the real me. As you mentioned, right? Like one of my first clients, we go back 20 years, was a little company that most people forgot about today, which is MySpace.
Yeah,
And, I had the opportunity to help them create one of the first social media ads to be able to monetize their traffic. And
I
and it's
knew one
interesting.
of the founders, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, they're a good group. Well, most people always go in like, "Oh, do you know Tom?" I was like, "Well, Tom was there, but he wasn't as much involved as everyone thinks he was, right?"
Right.
So, as you know as well. And it's interesting, right? Because I look back and I monetized, as you mentioned earlier, almost $1 billion in ad spend, over 35 trillion online impressions. And over that time frame, I don't know if I really helped that many people. I sold a lot of things, I think, right? But how many how did I actually change this world for the better? Being a father of three, I really wanted to do more, do be better. And honestly, I was taught, money was the object. And I've learned that that's not the case, right? And that was why I shifted, because following money led me down a path where I was successful based on monetary values of what the world sees as success today, which is sad. But I was 40 pounds overweight. I was my friends were monetary, and I had no vision about where I was going, and I knew there had to be better. And I was really blessed that I had an opportunity to reset. And that's kind of where it all started when we talk about this personal branding, and especially with LinkedIn, because when I reset and I walked away to start my life and save time over money with my kids. At first, David, I was going to be the life coach, right? I was going to teach everyone, all the things that I had messed up. I had my man bun, my mala beads, my pendulum had swung, and yeah, I was that guy. And it's interesting because at first I didn't realize I was trying to forget my past to forge a new future.
Mhm.
And I think that was the problem, right? Where I really still wasn't connected. And not until I paired my past, I leveraged my past to forge my new future, which was pairing humanity with marketing. It led to where we are today. And that just happens to be branding, right? How do you actually what is the human element of marketing? Well, it's personal branding, right? It's highlighting the human beings and starting teaching people how to have conversations and build relationships to create opportunity rather than just marketing and trying to get a whole bunch of leads and spam people and everything else. And the place that I found that was lacking more than any other platform was LinkedIn. There was a hole that I felt that I could fill and really be a guiding light on that platform. And so that's kind of where I found myself. And it's amazing. I get to work with really beautiful human beings that are truly adding value to this world, not just monetizing it, and helping them educate, inspire, and draw people in, not just sell them.
Beautifully, beautifully said. And of course, you and I have a lot of overlap in our desire to elevate humanity. And
Right.
I too have experienced, as I know a lot of people who are involved with utilizing LinkedIn
Yeah.
have a lot of experience with the ways in which LinkedIn has, in some ways, been hijacked by these kinds of ridiculous solicitations hitting our inbox every day. So,
David, it's
uh,
it's it's hard because marketers ruin almost everything. I hate to say it as a marketer, marketers ruin it because they do the things even though they would hate to happen to them. If they feel that they can make money by doing it, it's okay. And that's
well,
not okay. That's not the future I want to build for my kids.
psychologically undeveloped and immature marketers and
Yeah,
unethical marketers do that. And thank goodness there are a few ethical marketers out there, you being one
yeah,
of them. So in this episode's next segment, we'll get into root causes of what blocks people from getting the results they want on media
yeah.
platforms like LinkedIn. But first, as I already said, what big challenges do people have in getting social media platforms to produce the results they seek?
I think this is the issue, right? Like everyone continues to try and chase the algorithms because that's what we've been taught by so many experts that are out there, right? And I use quotes because the experts are always, I look for authorities, people that are actually truly doing it, not just teaching it. And that's a difference, right? I think most people go to the people that are teaching it because they're spending the most money on their marketing budgets and ad spend to draw the people in. And here's the thing, right? By chasing the algorithm, you continue to be sold, well, here's the next hack, here's the next trick. And here's the problem with hacks and tricks, David. If you continue to find the next hack or trick, you're always going to have to find the next hack and trick every single time the algorithm changes. And this is the issue why I continue, because you and I know that you have to do something long enough with consistency to be able to expect long-term results. Yes, you can have short-term results, but if you're constantly changing what you're selling, what you're doing, how you're doing it, it just throws every that's not human nature, right? That's not how it actually works. So that's the whole issue, right? And I think that what I finally realized, because it came from a world of algorithms, right? And if you're always trying to do that, look, they change it. They do that because they don't want you to beat the algorithm. It's there for a reason to be able to function in a certain way, and good or bad, right? The human algorithm online, what we've been conditioned over the last 20 years is to like, comment, share, post, like, comment, share, post. That's what they want us in. They want us to be able to have all these dopamine hits that go through, but it's dopamine without direction, which is insanity. And that's why so many people have issue with social media, because there's no focal point, right? They're putting out content for content's sake, right? They're not putting it out because they want to be the next social influencer. They want to do this, but they don't know exactly what they're actually trying to accomplish. They're doing what they believe everyone wants from them rather than asking or having conversations of what someone needs. And so my
Exactly.
shift was that, well, stop going through and chasing the algorithm. Let's follow the one algorithm that actually matters, which is that human algorithm. Once you understand that, it's an algorithm that doesn't change. It just evolves very slowly over time. And it's kind of why we've been able to do what we've done for so long without having to change or shift.
Right. So you just said a delicious mouthful, and I want to feature a couple of the
Thank
things
you.
that you just said. First
Yeah.
of all, great soundbite, accurate. Dopamine without direction is insanity. So that's under. I want the audience to underline that. And the second is, the way I'd paraphrase it is that shiny hack syndrome is a time waster, just like
Yeah.
shiny object syndrome, shiny guru syndrome. Shiny hack syndrome is a time waster, and the way to quote unquote beat algorithms, and I know we're going beyond beating
Yeah.
algorithms,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just for the sake of audience clarity,
Yeah.
the way to go beyond beating algorithms is to follow the human algorithm, which we're going to get into, I think, in the third segment when we look at what people would be wise to look for in the way of a solution to this.
Yeah.
So, this is, we're off to a great start.
Right. Well, you know what? I'll tell you, David, too, since I'm pretty sure probably people are going, wait a minute. David, you just told us all to pay attention to what Josh said around dopamine without direction is insanity. And, we told everyone in the beginning that my nickname was the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn. And I want everyone to understand, right? Dopamine without direction, that's what social media wants. They want you to keep you in the cycle. And that's why it happens. But dopamine with direction, and David, you know this better than anyone, is it actually puts you in flow state. As human beings, when we have dopamine hits from another fellow human being, it puts us in a flow state that allows us to be at ease and be able to connect on a deeper level. And I think that's what we have to be able to understand on how to be able to use these things. And like honestly, y'all, like David, you and I know that I just do the things that my mom taught me how to treat other human beings. I'm just doing it online to create that conversation that builds relationships, because relationships create opportunity. Most people try and
Beautiful.
go post content and then let me sell you something. And it's
Exactly.
yeah,
I gotta jump in because
yeah.
we're almost at the end of this
Oh,
segment. The
sorry.
rest of this episode dives into the root causes of what Josh and I have been discussing what to
Yeah.
look for in a solution and his version of that solution. So after a short break, my LinkedIn dopamine dealing guest, standout authority Joshua B. Lee, and I will explore less recognized reasons behind why we tend to fall short with our efforts to open doors on social media platforms. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Your show on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and we'll be back momentarily. Welcome back. Before the break, my guest, Joshua B. Lee, told us about big challenges that people have in getting social media platforms to produce the results they seek. And in this segment, as you already know, we're going to delve into under-recognized root causes of what blocks our success in getting those results, especially on business-oriented platforms like LinkedIn. So let's continue, Josh. What are those most overlooked root causes that we didn't touch on yet in the first segment?
I think it's really understanding, their audience and what you're trying to actually accomplish. Because we're all taught like, oh, just post more content. Well, Bill Gates said it a long time ago, which was content is king. I don't think that's the case anymore, David. I mean, like, we live in a world like anyone can actually go on AI and produce thousands of pieces of content overnight. And even before that, we were producing too much. We live in a world that is overrun. And I think that's the biggest problem is people don't know how to be able to create a stopgap in someone's pattern. Most of these social media platforms are keeping people in a loop that I said before, like, comment, share, post, and they continue to go on. There's no stop. There's no gap. And that's what we have to be able to understand. It's not content is king anymore. It's about quality is queen. How do we actually create quality content that resonates with our audience? And the biggest thing I think that people need to be able to understand is as human beings, we make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. No matter how smart you are, your knowledge is based on some degree of love or hate based on your past and what you've experienced in life. We do not make decisions being indifferent. And I think this is the problem, David. Most people are so scared about what they put out there and how people are going to feel. And yes, you want to be able to feel. So they don't make they put content that has no feeling at all. And that is the root cause of what I think every single person out there today is missing is we have to be able to feel. And in a world of AI that cannot feel, the human being is the most powerful piece that's out there.
Hmm. Okay. Well, okay. So, first of all, content is no longer king, quality is queen. Spot
Yeah.
on. Totally agree, as you wouldn't be surprised to hear. And the the challenge then is basically how to do what you and I know is in some circles called pattern interrupts
Yep.
by evoking feelings that tends to be the key because as you said, we make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. We don't make them from indifference. And so if quality is queen and emotions are what activate interest,
Yeah.
that becomes part of what you were referring to in the first segment as the human algorithm.
It is, yeah, and I think this is that aspect, right? Like, we kinda go through and especially on a platform like LinkedIn, go, "Oh, it's a B2B platform, so it's all business to business," and I push to disagree. I think B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer, I'm gonna tell you, I think they were designed by guys like me years ago to diversify ad spend, right? There is no B2B or B2C, everything is H to H, human to human because every company is run by another human being. And so when you look at that aspect, how are you connecting with your audience, right? If you're just talking about your shiny objects or about your business, about yourself, that's where it throws us off, right? We have to be able to bring people into our realm, into our reality. I call this like the door to the couch mentality, right? David, you and I met from a similar group. We have, similar backgrounds, and that allows us to be connected. It takes me from knocking on your door going, "Hey, I'm Josh. Your neighbor down the street, recommended me to come over because they got new windows," whatever it might be, right? versus you and I sitting on the couch and I'm like, David, I just picked up this new water bottle. And you're like, wow, Josh, tell me more. How do we actually do that? And that's at 10%. When you're creating content, how much of you are you putting in your content? It doesn't need to be everything. Like when we talk about a platform like LinkedIn versus Facebook, Facebook, you're going to be like, oh, yay, today's my kid's first day of school. That's great. But I don't need to know that on a platform like LinkedIn. I do need to know that you have kids, that you are a father or a mother, right? That allows, oh, you too, as we've seen over the centuries, as human beings, we look for people with similar commonalities. How are we building that bond? And in today's world, people aren't buying brands anymore. They want to understand the people behind them. And that's the bit that I think everyone's missing out on. How are you putting that 10% of you in to be able to connect with your audience on a truly visceral level?
Hmm. Yes. What I'm really getting at a deeper level than ever before in knowing you is
Yeah.
that you are a master of sound bites. Your things that are coming off of your tongue are pure gold. For
Well, thank
example,
you.
LinkedIn isn't just B2B or B2C. Everything is H2H, human to human, which of course I completely agree with. And so that leads to the question of how much of us are we putting into our content? And the tag on that I would say to that is that's relevant to the people we're seeking to connect with,
Right.
because people, and another soundbite of yours, people aren't buying brands anymore.
No, no.
They're
Yeah. I mean,
buying
that's
the
the thing.
people behind the brands, and they're not buying brands, they're buying transformational and transcendent experiences.
Right. With people that they know have potentially went through that same experience. And that's that difference between an expert, someone who'd studied on something, versus an authority who actually lives it. And that's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to connect with the people that are actually living what they say. You and I have seen too many people on stage where they teach a lot, and then you meet them behind the stage or you know them and you're like, wow, that is exactly the opposite of what they're doing, and they're just being a different person on stage. I want the people that live that one life. They are 100% them online and offline, right? That's honestly so much easier to be able to live that way. And you're right. We don't need to be able to go in. I don't need to tell you every detail of my life. And I think this is where people on social like, oh well, they're listening. Let me share everything. No, you need to be able to understand what makes me unique or connects me. Who's my audience? And I think once you can connect with your audience and then you actually find the things that are unique about you, our lives are just like our fingerprints. They're unique to us. It might be similar to others, but that's the whole aspect. And so when you give someone permission to be able to be them, like, hey, I'm a father, me too, right? Being able to go in, they open up and that allows that connection. That's that first piece of dopamine that you're dealing, that they go, wow, I'm not alone. There's someone else out there that's like me.
Yes, exactly. I was just invited into a number of classrooms at the university that I graduated from as an undergrad.
Amazing. Yeah.
I just celebrated in June my 50th college graduation class reunion, and I was brought back there to do some teaching,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what the students are craving. So, for example, I did in one class, I did an experiential exercise. I'm not gonna go into the details of that, it's not relevant to this, but what
Yeah.
is relevant to our discussion is that in doing the exercise, I was inviting them to be vulnerably transparent. So I went first.
Right.
And the result of that is exactly what you and I would predict, which is that those who were open to following in those footsteps became even more transparent than they probably otherwise would have been. And that's, I think, part of the absence of that is one of the root causes of why people aren't succeeding on social networks today.
100%. 100% because we were taught like, oh, only look at my perfect life, right? Or look at my fake life. Look at me. Look how amazing I am. Rather than understanding that even though people might be in awe of your success or potential success or whatever you might say, they actually connect more with the pain that we've all gone through in one way or another. And so when you humanize yourself and actually bring you to that level, most people see in their audience, they see, especially if you're well known, right? They go, oh, well, here's the gap between me and that person. Like, oh, I'll never achieve that. Once you continue to give those human experiences of what they've gone, that gap gets smaller and smaller and allows us to be on the same level. Oh, wow. Oh, Josh, his first job was at Chili's years ago. Oh, me too, right? Like, amazing. Maybe I too could one day be that. And that's what we're looking for, right? We have to be able to bring people in. And like you said, permission is one of the most important things I think we need. You look at social media, like you're not given permission to be real. It actually, I look at my kids, right? I've kept them off of social media because all it does is make them feel less than. That's
Mhm.
horrible, and that's why I think the shift of everything is going is, why would I ever want to make someone feel less than? Why would they buy my product? We hear these marketers go, "We'll sell out of fear of missing out." Really? There's gotta be a better way, right? How about we invite someone and they choose to work with us based on being excited for the opportunity to be able to grow, to have the opportunity, I think that's the difference, and I'll stand behind it. There's a lot of marketers don't like me because I'll call them out on their welcome, their trip. They'll call it a tripwire. Oh, here's the tripwire to bring someone in. No, how about a welcome mat, right? How about you invite someone into your home? That's human, right? Now you're connecting with them. It's not about how many people can you spam and send 1,000 messages out and get the one sale. You just pissed off 999 people. What if you treat them like a human being? Now they can be advocates, even if they're not the right client. You treat them like a fellow human being, and now they can actually go out and be a mouthpiece and a speaker for you. I think this is the shift that we have to be able to understand. And as all human beings, we need that invitation.
Yes, we do. And I can't even begin to imagine how many people who are watching or listening to this episode are feeling really heartened by what you're saying, because most people, I think, either intuit or they already have words or some words to be able to express how this whole notion of tripwires and FOMO, fear of missing out, and
Yeah.
scarcity and spam, it backfires.
All the
Even
time.
if on the rare occasions it provides an immediate boost, the cost of that immediate boost is long-term brand slaughter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
that's they look for it. I mean, David, you and
yeah,
I grew up in a world where, it was celebrated, like, you couldn't get another if you were working at a company, right? What happened if you left that job with less than 2 or 3 years? That did not look good on your resume.
it
And
didn't.
now we live in a world where, like, I mean, the younger generation is jumping every couple months because, "Oh, that's a better opportunity." I'm like going, "What are we teaching?" Right?
Exactly. So, after sorry to have to jump in again,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
after another short break, we'll get to the heart of the matter, which we've already started to move into, which is wonderful, which is what to look for in a solution that basically makes the digital algorithms irrelevant, so we can create the success we seek through the connection that we want. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Your show on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and we'll continue momentarily. And we're back. Before the break, my guest, who is a humanized digital marketing engagement wizard, Joshua B. Lee, and I delved into less recognized but vitally important root causes of why we don't get the results we want on social media platforms. And as I mentioned in this segment, we're going to delve deeper into what to look for when you want to boost your influence, lead generation, engagement, and brand loyalty on platforms like LinkedIn through the H2H, the human to human equation. So, Josh, what ingredients should executives and entrepreneurs and business people and nonprofits and
Yeah.
causes, et cetera, look for when they want to boost their social media effectiveness in the ways we've been discussing?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, David, we've got to be able to tell, our true career journey, right? I think that's where it starts from. Because I could sit here and talk about, and we'll go into, content creation or messaging, but it starts with, who you are and how you show up, especially on a platform like LinkedIn. Most people build their LinkedIn profile because that's how it started 20 years ago, as if they were looking for a job. It's built like a resume. I'm going to tell you, like most people, unless you are, even if you are looking for a job, it should not be built like a resume. It should tell your story of where you started, where you're at, and where you're going. And I think that's the biggest thing that most people miss out on is how they actually tell their story, because it's not even about, that's the first place they look. I mean, when you go in, LinkedIn is one of the most trusted platforms. If someone's going to look to be able to work with Dr. David Gruder, right? The first thing they're probably going to go in and look at is LinkedIn. How are you showing up? What type of content are you putting out? Let me look at your background, because there's so many different ways to be able to do that. So that's where I want everyone to start, right? Look at your LinkedIn profile and what is out there, and what have you not filled out? What about your career story have you not told someone before, right? Like, these are those things that I think people forget. And that's how we humanize, because they're looking for those commonalities. That's how people love to see themselves in someone else's story. And so that's where we have to start off, being a storyteller of our own story, that it gives that permission to someone else to be who they are as well. So that's
Yes.
number one.
Okay, good. Keep going.
Number two, look, yes, we want to be able to put out content. The way I tell everyone to be able to put out content is the 10-20-70 method of content creation. And a lot of people have heard of 80-20 and a lot of other ways to be able to go in it. But for me, and I mentioned it a little bit, right? That 10-20-70, it lays out like this: that 10% is personal. What connects you to your fellow human being, right? Like, what makes you you, right? That's where we miss out on. It's that door to the couch mentality I talked about earlier. You want to be able to place that and put that out there so people can connect, like, oh, that person's like me, commonality, bond. Number two, that 20%, we want to be able to create content about our company and what we do, but not those people. We've all seen them, right? Like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to make seven figures, or I'm going to show you how to make, I'll show you how to lose 100 pounds. And it's like, cool. Don't tell me, show me. I want the, again, we go back to that storyteller. We're creating content. I want people to think about, what have you done for someone else, right? Where are the stories? They want to be able to see, like, oh, David's went to the schools after 50 years, and now he's back in there being able to work with the students again. That's amazing. I would love to do that too. Right? That's a storyteller, not going, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be able to get back and teach students how to be, in the colleges again. That's the shift that I want everyone to see. And here's the last piece, David. No one cares about your shiny things. Most people on LinkedIn are always talking about all the shiny things they have, right? No one cares. I don't want you to be that person in the room always talking about yourself. We've seen them in different events, right? Like, oh, there's Josh again. That guy never shuts up about LinkedIn. Avoid, avoid. I don't want anyone to be that way, because the last piece is the most important. As I said, we've all lived a unique life, right? I want to think back, and I want you to be an aggregator of value, right? 70% of your content should educate, inspire, and draw in your audience. They can't be you without you. So many people hold on to all their knowledge and all their assets so tightly. I'd rather have someone and educate them enough that they feel they might have the opportunity to do it, but want to get there faster and work with me, right? Because no one can be me without me, right? So that is the one thing I want everyone. When someone says, hey, David, Dr. David Gruder, I want to work with you, would you rather have someone that has no clue what you do, or they're educated enough to go, I know I need him, right? That's a difference. So that's how the content aspect works: 10% personal, 20% around your company, what you have done for someone, and 70% be an aggregator of value. That also plays really well in today's world of what we call AEO, which is the optimization from SEO, which is search engine optimization. We're going to answer engine optimization, which is generative search, AI search. So that actually sets you up for the future of search and the future of business by leveraging LinkedIn. So
Yes.
those are two ways that I think everyone needs to be able to go in. But David, and I'll do this quickly because I want to make sure we can have a deeper conversation in it. We can't just put content out anymore and go, okay, find me. Right? We talked about it, right? There's so much content out there. We've all been there on a Friday night. I know at least my wife and my wife looks at me and she goes, if you don't pick a show soon, I'm going to kill you. Right? Like, and it's like, we spend more time looking for what we want to watch than actually what we're watching because there's so much content. So you have to be able to identify and find your audience. So that's where I talked about earlier on how I leverage what my mom taught me, right? I go out there, I find the people that are my ideal audience. They want to be able to have engagement too. That stopgap is as easy as a thank you. Hey David, I saw your recent post. I just want to reach out and say thank you, man. I really appreciate the value added by sharing that interview you did with Josh. Right? Thank you. When you thank someone for something they take for granted, it creates a stopgap in their pattern. Remember that human algorithm: like, comment, share, post, like, comment, share, post. We thank them for one of those aspects. They step back and they go, wow, now it opens up an opportunity for a conversation. And so that's where we have to actually invite our ideal audience in to connect with us, not expect them to find us anymore.
Right. So
I gave a lot.
unpacking, you did. So I'm going to do a little unpacking again.
Yeah,
So the first thing, I'm going to do this in a different order than what
please.
you presented. But first of all, we've got to be really clear about what our ideal audience is
Yeah,
and what what they're looking to experience, what they're looking to hear, what they're looking to learn, what their challenges are, et cetera, so that we can then implement an effective version of the 10-20-70 content creation kind of
well said.
strategy, right?
Yeah, well
And
said.
the uh, again, to review,
Yeah,
10% is personal, human to human, door to couch
yeah,
kind of content. The 20% is the show me stories. What have you and your company done?
right.
And the third is the 70%, which is what you're calling, and I think it's absolutely right, value aggregation.
Yeah,
And I want to ask you something about that because
please.
I missed a word. You said educate, inspire, and blank your audience to get
Educate,
where they
inspire, and draw in. Because
draw
again,
in. That's it.
you want to draw them in, right? Like everyone, usually in social media and all their aspects, people are talking at everyone else. No one wants to be talked at. Just like you and I are having a conversation. Most people write as they talk at someone, or even if they get AI to write, right? But they forget to write conversationally, the way that you and I actually have a conversation. So, how are you sharing this information? If you want to draw someone in with this when you're sharing your value, write conversationally. Just talk to text, right? Go through that. I don't speak perfect English. And so if my posts sound perfect English, it sounds like I'm talking at someone. It's okay to be able to use I'm from Texas, right? So I'll say y'all and things of that nature. That allows someone to actually understand who you are at your soul, because when they meet you, there won't be a difference in what they perceive online versus what they see in person.
It's so true. And again, that's very present for me because of what I was doing earlier this week with
Yeah.
my alma mater. One of the students in the middle of the class, a presentation I was giving, says in front of the class, "Would you come here and be a professor?" and and I talked with her offline
Yeah.
during a break, and I said, "I'm really curious about what caused you to ask that question." And what she said is exactly what you were just talking about, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah. I
She
love it.
said, you covered material that where others are trying to teach us, but you did it in such accessible wording and in such a human and vulnerable and personal way that I got it, and I want
Yeah.
more of that. And
Yeah.
this wasn't a complaint about not liking her professors, because I was very impressed with the professors there in terms of them being human centered, student centered, really
Yeah.
wanting to make a difference, providing personalized attention, all of that. And yet, because they primarily speak the language of academies rather than
Yeah.
humanese, there's an unintended gap there. And that's a microcosm of what's going on in a different form, a non-academic form, on social media networks.
Well, everyone wants to sound smarter than sound the smartest person in the room, and so they write over. I mean, we live in a world right now where the average person. This is why the TV show "Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader" with Jeff Foxworthy was so important, because the average person reads at a fifth grade level. I don't care if they are a professor, PhD, and like that. That's amazing. But when you're looking at social media, we've been trained to be able to go through and read. So if words stop you, they're never going to get to the meat of what you're talking about. And so I think I see so many people, I'll read their about sections of their profile, or I'll read their content and I'll put it through, and it reads at like a, and it doesn't even exist, right? They're like, this reads at an 18th grade level. And it's like, okay, well, no wonder you're not connecting with your audience, because they're not even getting through it because they've already stopped. And I think
Exactly.
this is that whole aspect, David, right? So like that's where people mess up.
And I used to be much more guilty of it than I am right now. When
Yeah.
what blew my mind, now we're going back quite a while.
Yeah.
I started analyzing my writing style, and I was writing at a graduate school level. And it took everything I had in me to learn how to talk and write at a 10th grade level.
Yeah.
So,
And you're
uh,
not writing, like, you're not writing less than, and, because people are like, "Oh, well, you have to, I don't wanna make sure, I don't wanna sound,
forgive me,
stupid."
I'm
I'm like,
so sorry
"No."
to
Yeah,
interrupt on that.
yeah,
But after our upcoming break, we'll return for our episode's final segment, during which I'll be asking Josh to reveal how he helps you magnify your social media effectiveness by humanizing your brand. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future in Your show on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and we'll return shortly. Well, before the break, the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn, and I mean the human dopamine, the emotions dopamine, connection dopamine dealer of LinkedIn, Joshua B. Lee, and I discussed ingredients to look for when you want to boost your effectiveness in utilizing social media. And as I already mentioned during this final segment of this episode, called "The Future of Human Trust and Connection in a Digital AI Driven World," Josh is shortly going to tell us how he provides what we suggested in the last segment that you look for. And I'll then let you all know how to access. Actually, I should say all y'all. I'll let all y'all know how to access a great gift on this topic that Josh has for you. And after that, he and I will each share the big takeaway we hope you've gained from this episode, followed by my closing comments. So, Josh, how do
yeah.
you help entrepreneurs, executives, and others boost trust and connection on social media platforms that turns into engagement and brand loyalty, and most of all, human to human connection?
You know what, David, that's an amazing question, because again, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, trust, we're moving into this world where trust, I believe, is gonna be the new currency, right? We live in a trust deficit, and, with AI and everything like that, people don't know what's real, what's not, what they should, if it's fake news, all these kind of aspects. But how do we actually do that? Well, when you actually see someone that's real and raw, right? Not overproduced. And one of the biggest things that we've learned is when I sit down with our clients, when we sit down, like, we've been blessed to work with people like AWS, right? Like, and people forget that, people don't even know that, like, they went out and hired some of the top C-level executives from Fortune 100 companies around the world, but they forgot to tell anybody. And so they brought us in to be able to humanize those voices, to be able to invite them to know the people behind the brand. And that starts with being able to understand your story, because most people go, oh, well, this is what I do now, right? That's all that matters. When we sit down with someone, I, I can tell you, my wife is amazing, right? Rachel goes through and she's really built a process for a lot of our clients to be able to, it's like, okay, tell me about yourself. They go, okay, well, right now I'm running this business. Let's start from the beginning. Tell me about, how you grew up, right? This is that whole aspect, right? Like I think people forget to be able to do. We have to be able to tell the full story, because that's where we start. You and I know, as being able to understand how human beings are, most of what we do now is based on some form of what happened in our past. And sometimes we forget those stories. We forget how relevant they are. We forget that, guess what, man? Maybe you're the manager at a McDonald's. There's about a million other people that would love to be in that position. How did you get there? Right? What led up to that point? What led up to you and me being able to be honored enough to be on your show today? Right? And that takes a story. That wouldn't have start where I'm at Standard Authority, David. Like you and I built a relationship over the years. And that has to be that aspect. And that's what we help people do, to be able to communicate not just what they do, but who they are. And
Yes.
I think this is the big thing, right? And the last piece of what we do, and this might be another soundbite, David, but our perception of other people's perception is what drives most of us crazy. We have no clue what someone else's perception is. But in the human society that we live in today and on social media, we always perceive what someone thinks about us. Except we don't ask. And that is the biggest thing that I think that we do for our clients is we don't just allow them to perceive what other people, we allow them to be part of the journey, to be part of the conversation, to be able to ask the right questions, to be able to draw them into a true conversation. And I think that's the most important piece, because I could sit here like, oh, David thinks this about me. Until you tell me, David, I do not know. And most of us are living this journey just going on that path.
Yes. You're reminding me in what you just said about something in organizational development psychology called the Johari window,
Okay.
Johari, which for those who don't know that, it's named after two psychologists named Joe and Harry. Anyway, the Johari window talks about four variations related to what we know about ourselves, what others know about us. One is there are things we know about ourselves that others know about us. The second is there are things we know about ourselves that the others don't know about us, not
Yep.
necessarily because we're keeping secrets, but because they just haven't come up yet. The
Yeah.
third is the one that you're emphasizing that I want to underscore, which is there are things others know about us and our impact that we don't know about ourselves. And of course, the fourth variation is things that neither we nor others know about us. That
Yeah.
third box, things others know about us and our impact that we don't know about ourselves, we can't learn about that unless we know the right questions to ask that draw people into conversation about that in a safe way.
Right. And that's where content can actually serve one of the biggest keys. We as human beings have some more power than we've ever had in the history of our being. Right? We forget about that, right? Everyone goes, "Oh, we're in a digital revolution." I dare to say that we are in a human revolution, right? Because with AI, with social media, when I started my first companies, you didn't have the opportunity to be able to go out there and be able to ask a million people a question. Now we do. Why don't why don't more people do that? Right? Like, well, because they're scared, David. They're scared that what the answer might not be what they want it to be, or they're scared that no one will answer. But that is an answer in itself. And we have to understand that if what we put out there does not cause someone to, if I'm just putting out content for content's sake, I'm taking up space. I'm taking up time. My time, the one resource we don't get back, right? My time to create the post and someone else's time to be able to pass it. Why would we waste that, right? If we can't get someone to either engage with our content in some form or fashion, or to act, even if it's online or within themselves personally, why are we putting it out there? And I think that's the question that most of us have to be able to ask, right? we're,
Yes.
we're scared to be able to go through there, but we have to be able to do that. Let's make sure that we really value that time that we all have, that we are limited on, because it's with a one resource we can never get back.
Exactly. So before I move on to, I want to really share with our audience the wonderful gift that you
Yeah,
have for them. Before that, I just want to do a very, very quick summary.
yeah,
That the gold that you and your wife bring to this process is that you help your clients become real and raw, to tell relevant stories vulnerably, stories about their past and how they got there and how they got from there to here. And you help them communicate who they are, not merely what they do. And you help them formulate and ask the right questions that draw people into conversation, and to be courageous enough to ask those questions. And the reason I'm underlining and summarizing all of that is
yeah,
because, in my experience, there are very, very few branding and marketing experts that focus on those things as the cornerstone, when
yeah.
those need to be the cornerstone of how we show up everywhere in our lives, including on social media. So, with that said,
100%.
I want to let all of you all know that Josh is gifting you with access to a wonderful guide of his called Three Hidden Signals That Are Keeping You from Standing Out on LinkedIn. And in it, he breaks down three often missed behaviors that silently hurt visibility and trust on LinkedIn. And he gives you actionable insights on how to shift into standout positioning by tapping into the hidden LinkedIn algorithm, the H2H algorithm, the human to human algorithm that gets even elite executives found by the right people, and not just elite executives, but anyone
Yeah,
found by the right people without daily posting and content overload. So if you use LinkedIn, and you should be using LinkedIn, this guide is a must get. I've created a simplified forwarding link to that resource so that it's easy for you all to remember it. It's thecess.com. As you all know, that's my Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty, THECCS.com/Josh, Josh.
look at
And
that.
that'll forward you directly to the page where you can access this gift he has. So, and while you're there on the website, be sure to explore the full range of resources that Josh and his wife have for both men and women, so you can select the resources that are your best fit. Josh, we're running very low on time. In a single non-run-on sentence soundbite, which you're really good at, what's the big takeaway you want everyone to have gotten from this episode?
Here's the big takeaway: be 100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. That's it.
100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. Brilliant. And mine is humanizing your social media engagement approach cuts through digitized noise and algorithmic roadblocks to reach and build connection with people who want to support you and what you do. So again, make sure you visit thecess.com, THECESS.com/Josh for his gift and to learn more about him. Thank you so very much, Josh, for
Thank you, David.
reminding us that our humanity is the key to all success, including social media success, and for being here on my show. And thank you all for joining me for this episode of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours on the X Zone Broadcast Network. This has been Dr. David Gruder, the polymath of human potential and societal psychotherapist who equips leading edge leaders, influencers, and you with impactful resilience that makes it possible for humanity's most spiritually elevated future to at last emerge. I invite you to explore my main website, drgruder.com. That's DRGRUDER.com. That's D as in David and Gruder, where you'll find a link to watch or listen to all of this show's episodes, as well as a link to the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty, which is helping to dissolve divisiveness by reuniting individuals, businesses, nations, and humanity so we can at last usher in the age of what I call spiritual self-sovereignty that serves us all. The world needs you. Your nation needs you. Your loved ones need you, and you need you. Boost your impact in helping the future you most want to emerge in your own unique ways. I enthusiastically invite you to tune in next time for another spellbusting, uplifting, and actionable episode on how together we can and will build a better future for ourselves and for humanity.